Hi, I'm attorney Ben Schwartz, and I'm here with attorney Rob Collins as well. Today, Rob's going to help us out by answering one of our frequently asked questions about personal injury claims. This question comes up in the context of car accident cases, slip and fall cases. A lot of times, I think this comes up in dog bite cases too. But basically, the question is, I was injured in an accident, and I'm having some emotional problems from the accident. You know, if it's a car accident, I'm afraid to get back in the car and drive, or we see cases where people, you know, are out on a walk in the neighborhood and are bitten by a vicious dog, and they're afraid to go out in the neighborhood and go for a walk. Is there anything that can be done about that? And Rob, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, as one of our employees has recently said, go see a therapist. It's very common for medical doctors to ask about where it hurts, check out your body parts, bending, prodding, maybe doing some diagnostic tests, but a lot of the time they forget to ask, how do you feel? And that is one of the injuries that is very common after an accident or a dog bite, is to have anxiety, sometimes depression, especially if there are problems with income or medical bills that come along with the accident. The injuries that are claimed under your case are not just physical. They also include the emotional and the mental aspects of your injuries. The most common ones I see are probably nightmares, anxiety, hypervigilance when driving. You know, every car that comes up behind, you're afraid that it's going to rear-end you because you were rear-ended at a red light. I had one client who was in an accident at a red light almost right in front of her house. For months after that, she could not go through that intersection. She would drive all the way back around through the neighborhood. It was like an extra mile to and from her house every time, just because she couldn't bring herself to drive through that same intersection.
Rob, when I was a young attorney, I had a car accident case, and a lady was injured in the accident, and it was, her physical injuries were not terrible, but the accident from her viewpoint was horrific because she saw the driver of the car. A car came out through an intersection, ran through a stop sign, and went right in front of her. And she saw the lady that was in that car, and she thought that she killed that lady. Now she didn't. The lady turned out to be fine, but she, for a few moments, believed that she had killed another human being. And that night, that night after the car accident, she started feeling like she was having chest pain. She couldn't breathe. She thought she was having a heart attack. Was taken to the ER, and it turns out she was actually having a panic attack as a result of what she saw in the accident. And so, these things, this is one example of a case that I had many years ago, but how frequent do you see this in your personal injury practice?
Well, the people who actually need treatment, I'd say maybe 25% around there. The number of people who are suffering is much higher. It's just a lot of people are able to work their way through it without any sort of professional help. But a fair number do need or benefit from professional help, especially because there's not a lot of mental health care providers who specialize in PTSD type cases. And then even if they're the ones who do accept those types of cases, they may not accept the PIP insurance from the auto accident, or they may not be willing to provide a report and testify if the case actually gets to the point where it goes to trial. So there's really only a handful of providers available to help the clients that we have, and it's not really fair to the patient or the client and patient, because they have the right to be put back to where they were before that accident happened. The medical doctors, the physical therapists, the surgeons, they can do a great job of physically putting the client back to where they were before the accident. But if you just can't drive or you can't get a good night's sleep because of nightmares, then the client or patient needs to get the mental health care as well to help them get back to where they were.
Like, where is the dividing line, in your opinion? At what point do you have a client, and do you say to the client, listen, I think you need to get counseling? You're not, emotionally, you're not getting better. I mean, where's the dividing line between people that you see, clients that you see, and you think to yourself, I think they're going to be fine, give them a couple weeks, let them get back in the car and drive, and they'll get back on the horse on their own, versus folks that you say, listen, you need to go and get counseling, or you need to go to your family doctor and let them know what's going on in your head and ask for a referral to a therapist?
Well, it's always up to the client. I mean, I'm not going to take your case unless you go see a therapist. It's always up to what the client is most comfortable with doing. But I make that recommendation once their regular daily activities are interrupted or interfered with. If they can't sleep so that they're tired all day, then they need to. I mean, that's dangerous driving like that, or using equipment, or just bad for your health. Or if you're driving a mile, 2 miles out of your way every time you go home, that's interfering with your daily life.
Mm-hmm.
If you are able to do everything you normally did before the accident, you're just stressed out, then that's on you. You do what you think is best, obviously. Mm-hmm. But if you are having to change your life because of your emotions, then it's time, in my opinion, to go see somebody and get the professional help to get you back to at least you're functioning
Mm-hmm.
to where you were before the accident.
So really it's a question of functional impairment. If you're having functional impairment, you need to ask for help. If you're not, then maybe it's something that'll go away on its own, or it's something that you can sort of self-treat. How long, if someone's had an accident and they're having emotional problems, losing sleep, feeling irritable, the facts of the accident keep playing through their head, they're finding that they're avoiding the accident scene, mm-hmm. or they're avoiding people,
it's a really common
things that are, things that remind them of the accident they're avoiding. Like, how long do you think someone should let that go on before they take action to seek therapy?
Honestly, in my opinion, that's just like any other health issue. If it's interfering with your life, go get the treatment. I mean, if you have a sprained muscle and you go to the doctor, maybe they can fix it in a couple weeks. Maybe if you're having these emotional injuries, you can go see a therapist and be back to where you were within a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But just like any other injury, the longer you let it nag and go on, oftentimes it can take longer to heal as well. Mm-hmm. The sooner you get the treatment, the more likely you are to heal quickly as well. The therapists really are there they listen, but then they also give coping skills. They give you exercises to work through. It's just like, I always tell my client, if you're doing physical therapy, it should be like going to the gym. You should hurt afterwards. If you're not hurting afterwards, then you're not working hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with this type of therapy. You get exercises to do, and you actually have to work at it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you work at it, then you can get mentally healthy much quicker.
Do you feel, 20, 30 years ago, there was really a stigma about going and getting therapy or going to a professional counselor? Do you think that in our society now, do you think that there's a stigma against people that seek mental health treatment or emotional health counseling?
Not nearly to the degree there used to be. I think people are still worried about the stigma. I don't think the actual stigma itself exists like it used to. Especially, we have learned that this is just another aspect of healthcare. And, just like you don't stigmatize somebody for having cancer or colitis or whatever, you don't stigmatize people today for mental health issues. And it's, the younger people have really grown up understanding this. Maybe some of the older folks, it's taken a little bit longer, but I think the fear of the stigma is much stronger than the actual stigma today.
Okay. Thanks very much, Rob. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about this issue. If you have questions about personal injury claims or emotional injuries that come from personal injury, car accidents, slip and fall, dog bite accidents, please feel free to send me an email. I'm ben.schwartz@schwartzandschwartz.com. You can also contact us through our Facebook page. We're at facebook.com/schwartzandschwartz. You can send a message through Facebook. You can leave a comment on one of our posts there. But if you have a question, please feel free to get a hold of us, and hopefully we can answer your question directly. Or if you'd like to have your question answered in the format of a video blog, we can do that as well. I'm attorney Ben Schwartz with attorney Rob Collins from the law firm of Schwartz and Schwartz.